All right, guys, how we doing there? Ryan Kelly here, Walk-Off Report. I'm alongside one of my partners, Benjamin Dayton. Ben, how we doing?
We're good, Kels. How you doing?
I'm all right. Just a normal Monday. It's pretty shitty out, but baseball's right around the corner. I'm getting
10
excited.
days. 10 days. 10
10
days
days
till
spring
pitchers and
training.
catchers.
It's exciting stuff. Obviously the theme of Walk-Off Report is purely baseball. We're off of the Crossover Report Network. We're gonna be doing a lot of articles based, a lot of fun articles along with being relevant at the same time. Obviously, with it here at Crossover Report. But this video, excuse me, is all going to be about the winners and our losers of the offseason. Instead of beating around the bush, we're going to get right into it. Dayton, the Chicago Cubs, went to the NLCS, lost to the Mets.
Winners. Absolute winners. Did
Winners?
everything you could do. Yeah. I think you see where they were sitting last year. There was an energy around them late in the season, late in the playoffs. Everyone kind of thought young team, going to contend in the future, really set up well, but those guys could win. I mean, they were a World Series caliber team last year, as we all saw. And you go out, I think Lackey was one of the sneaky, underrated moves of anyone this offseason. I think he was a great pickup. And obviously Hayward was just, I mean, that was the bomb, which is obviously the knife in the Cardinal side on top of that. But I think they're just absolute winners.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, yeah, you look at John Lennon, he's a workhorse. He's definitely going to bolster that rotation. Now you have Lester, you have Arrieta, you have Hendricks, Hamill, and Lackey. I mean, that's pretty damn good rotation. Obviously, adding Hayward's huge. I do believe they paid him too much,
They
but
did, they did. But I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing. That's the theme you and I are going to say a lot here, I'm sure.
oh yeah, definitely for
Um,
sure.
I
I
think
was,
Lackey. I think Lackey. The Cubs did with Lackey what the Giants think they're doing with Samardzija. I mean, he's a workhorse. I think he's there. He's going to fill up some innings. He's going to put quality starts in. But I love that signing for them.
I do too, and we're going to dispute the Samardzija Lackey comp later because I have a different opinion on that. But they also signed Ben Zobrist. He's a toolsy player. He's going to play second base probably for the Cubs. He is 34 years old and he signed a 4-year, $56 million deal. Again, obviously the theme is going to be they spent too much money. I think this one, the entire offseason, I'm looking at this signing. I think he's going to help. Maybe second in the lineup, but I don't see him doing too much at 34 years old.
I don't see him doing a ton, and you're right about that. I think they kind of realized, look, we got a lot of young talent, and all their contracts expire at the same time, right? In 2 or 3 years.
That's going to be one
And
hell of
and I,
an offseason.
it is. It's gonna be bananas. And I think we know Theo's smart enough to realize that he's got to get on that sooner versus later. And I think getting Castro out of there, he just wasn't part of the long term puzzle. Because you look at those guys, I think half their lineup right now, they'd love to lock up to a long term deal if they could, and Castro just didn't fit in. And I
I
guess
coming from Chicago, Illinois, I know that Chicagoans hated Starlin Castro. I mean, the guy was always uninterested in the field, errors on top of it. Always kind of sloppy at the plate. I think that's a good. They got Adam Warren coming back in that deal. He's a serviceable pitcher. He went in and out of the bullpen, the starting rotation for the Yankees last year. I like him as an additional, and I also like Rex Brothers. So I can talk about him a lot. Excuse me. He only pitched 17 games yesterday, but he pitched to a tune of a 1.74 ERA. I know it's not a big sample size, but he's a big lefty, and he'll definitely help out that bullpen, which so much the Cubs needed last year.
yeah, and I think especially just the attitude around that ball club. I mean, he can step in. He'll step in and he'll do big things. I don't think. I think they,
Yeah.
I think he benefits from being on that team. Is what I'm saying.
Any team with David Ross on it is good in my
I
heart.
mean, that's fine with me.
All right, so next we're going to talk about our team. If you didn't know and read our bios, both Benjamin and I are both big Red Sox fans. We promise to be unbiased to you Yankee fans out there, even though we don't want to. But obviously,
I probably just won't for what it's worth.
just
I
won't,
mean,
just won't.
I
Uh,
mean, okay, I'm willing to say it right now. Yeah, they're a winner. They're a winner of the offseason, and I'm on board. I'm already hopelessly invested in this squad. I mean, I'm all in. I love everything they did.
I mean, Dave Dombrowski comes from the Tigers. Just couldn't win a championship there. And he comes in, he says, we need a starting pitcher at the front of the rotation. We need a closer. We need a fourth outfielder and then some bullpen help. And what do? They get David Price, one of the best pitchers in the entire league. Craig Kimbrell, one of the best closers in the league. Chris Young, a very serviceable fourth outfielder. And then Carson Smith for Wade Miley. I like that trade a lot. He's 26 years old. The guy has a pretty low ERA, and he throws hard. I mean, they did exactly.
And here's the thing. You and I were a little bit split when Dombrowski came in. I think you were a lot higher on him than I was. That's probably fair.
That's fair.
I personally, I hated what he was doing in Detroit for the last 5 years. I'm getting the Homer Tigers fans being from Detroit area, but I didn't love the structure. I thought he was going to do more of the same, but with more money. And I'm glad I was wrong. I like everything he's done. I think Smith was a huge signing. No, he's not going to get a lot of pub behind Price and Kimbrell. Those were the two big names. But I think the two real signings that made that a class offseason for them were Smith and also to get Chris Young.
Smith was a trade. Smith was traded for the Mariners' Wade Miley trade.
Yeah,
Signing. Okay, yeah.
Off-season acquisitions.
I think the biggest, Dombrowski's biggest failure was not building a bullpen in Detroit. And I think he comes in, he already has Koji. He already has Tozawa. Now he had Smith and Kimbrell. I think that's a shutdown bullpen. That's exactly what he needed.
And he threw a little depth in there with Elias, too.
I do like Uranus. The guy throws hard, young pitcher, live arm.
I love him for where he is in the pen.
I do like him a lot. We need lefties in the pen, and he's going to serve very well.
Every concern I had from Dombrowski's time in Detroit is gone. I mean, I think for me, top two of the offseason, Red Sox, Cubs.
Right, and then I know we have a couple other teams we threw in there. I know you had the Giants, but I'm going to touch briefly on just two of my teams really quick. Not the biggest of winners, but I definitely think made a good impact. I have the Marlins up here. Marlins, you see, didn't make a huge impact player-wise, but they signed Don Mattingly as their manager and Barry Bonds as their hitting coach. I mean, with that young core, you have Yelich, you have Fernandez, you have Giancarlo Stanton, you have Cozart, and then you sign Wai-Yin Chen. That's down the road. That's a good core you want to be around.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think a lot of people are probably more bearish on them just because of probably the fiasco we saw 2 off seasons ago when they spent all that money and then tanked.
Exactly. Yeah, that was with
I think people are worried about that, but I actually think getting Mattingly in there, getting a good core, they're actually starting to make good long-term decisions. I don't hate what they've done. I just think people have still got a lot of stick on them from the last few years. It wasn't stellar, but I actually think they're finally moving in a good direction.
I agree. And I'm gonna throw a little team in there really quick. I want to throw the Braves in there, just because of the Shelby Miller trade. I am not as big on Shelby Miller as other people. He is a good too. But you look what the Braves got back. You got Aaron Blair, who was a number 40 prospect for Baseball America. You have Dansby Swanson, the first overall draft pick in the last draft. And then you have Ender Infante, who's only 25 years old, played right field for the Diamondbacks last year and hit .303. I mean, for Shelby Miller, I'm going to give
for a strong two.
True, and if I'm the Braves, I'm jumping for joy. I love their pick on that. Diamondbacks are going to love Shelby Miller, but for that price, I just don't see it worth it.
I think it was an absolutely great deal. I don't think they're necessarily an offseason winner in my book, but I love that. I love the deal.
Now you put down here Giants. Explain to me why you think Giants are a winner this offseason.
They did what they needed to do. They didn't shock anyone. They didn't go out and, I don't come away right now thinking, wow, the Giants are going to be a lot better than I anticipated. We knew they were going to go spend some money. I think Cato was absolutely huge to get. I think, we've seen that he can go and inject late season fever into a team, and I think to have him is huge. I'm not huge on Samardzija. I don't love the Samardzija signing at all.
Oh, I'm gonna put it straight up. I hate the signing.
I know you do. I more have them as winners in spite of the Samardzija trade. The season. They basically said we love that he can throw a lot of innings, right? They said that in the press conference.
They said that, which is almost why I hate the guy. I mean, he was
exactly
He was on the
What do you
Cubs.
thought?
He was on the White Sox. I've been around. I've seen him pitch live multiple times. I've seen him play football multiple times live, to be honest, true. The guy, I mean, he's an athlete. We'll give him that. He played football at Notre Dame, and that's pretty honorable. But the guy, he goes out there and he eats innings, but they're not going to be good innings.
Well, like he was like 4.5 last year, right?
He'll lose you games for that. And
He's
then
gonna lose games.
for the amount of money that they gave him to lose those games, I just don't see it as a good signing. And they lost out. They were in the price, talks. They were in the Greinke talks. They're all over that, and they missed on both those. So they think that if I sign Cueto and I sign Samardzija, that'll equal one great pitcher, which I just don't see it. Just don't
I
see it.
feel I feel great on the Cueto signing. I know they lost out on the other sweepstakes. I think Cueto was a good signing on his own. I don't love the Samardzija signing, although it's not like they're going to be. I mean, it's not like they're miserable with him. I think they gave him too much money, but whatever. I do like the Denard Span trade or the move to get him. I think they really got a good value on him at the top of the order.
I do like Denard Span too. I mean, he's good, quick, shifty, hits the ball real well. I don't have much to say about him. I think that you look at the homegrown teams where the teams, develop players the best, and you look at the Giants. I mean, you got Posey, Bumgarner, they have Panic coming up. I mean, those guys don't know what's doing on. They've won, off years. This next year, according to our California friends, they're going to win this year. They have to. They won in 10. They
Life
won in 12.
savings. Put your life savings on the Giants to win it.
Throw
Apparently.
your mortgage on the Giants to win because they're gonna win somehow, according to the California kids.
That's why I had to include them. They just know how to win championships.
We'll
And
throw them in there.
I don't feel half as good about it as I do Cubs or Sox.
Okay, we can agree about that. That's fine.
But I'll throw them in there. They know what they need to do. They've done it before, and I think they made overall. I think they got better.
I'm gonna give a quick shout out. I'm not sure if it's a winner. You're not gonna see it in the field, I don't think. But I have the Mariners down. DePoto was fired by the Angels, was hired by the Red Sox for about 2 months as a special assistant. Got the Mariners GM job. He made 11 trades this offseason. That's by far the most. He has Benoit. He got Kearns from the Rays. He took Iwakuma back from the Dodgers. We'll talk about that later. Adam Lynn's a good bat. Wade Miley eats innings. I mean, at least he's trying to do something up there. Mariners is just tough. It's a very tough place to attract guys. I think he's doing a great job. That's my little spill on the Mariners. And now we're gonna go into the losers.
Hey, we're gonna have to figure out whether eats innings is a good or a bad thing, by the way, because we've used it. I mean, it's whatever. I do like that move for the M's. I think Miley is a good fit there. I guess we'll leave it at don't sign guys just to eat innings. How about that?
I'll put it at that. And I mean, that's why the Giants signed Samardzija to do exactly that. But Samardzija's getting paid 3 times the amount that Miley is, and they're pitching to the same ERA. So I'm perfectly fine with Miley. That's why I don't like Samardzija. So we're gonna get into the losers now. I know we're both very adamant that the Orioles were losers this offseason. What do you got to say about them?
They just didn't do enough. They just didn't. I mean, they got Wieters to a 1-year deal. Great. I mean,
first player to, or he was the player to sign his qualifying offer.
Yeah. So I mean, that's great, but what else are they doing for him?
I mean,
I think they were a team, big talent core, huge talent core. Showed that they could win games for a couple years stretch, and they had a lot of pieces, and they just kind of fanned on it for me.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't add anything in my opinion. I mean, I think they just, they were bidding against Scott Boras for Davis. He signed for 7 years, $161 million. I mean, that guy's high. He has one of the highest strikeout rates in the league. They lost Chen to the Marlins, didn't add anything. I'm very unimpressed with their offseason.
Right. I'm just not. Yeah. I don't know what they did.
So now you have one of the we call Ohio home here, and you have an Ohio team on your loser list. What do you got?
Cleveland Indians. I just don't know what the Tribe's got to do. I mean, we saw inside the last decade a couple of playoff pushes, a couple of really good teams, and that place. I mean, it's rocking when they're good, and they're a good franchise, or they were. And I think they had a lot of good pieces. They finished 6 games out of a playoff spot last year, and have one of the worst attendance rates in the league. So they got they got money to go spend on a big name like Cespedes for 25 teams the MLB apparently could have signed, and they got Mike Napoli to hit 6th.
Mike Napoli, that's a name right there for you.
I love Mike Napoli. I love Mike Napoli, but that's all they got him to hit 6th in their lineup in front of 10,000 people a night. Not even. I think they were a team that they could have gone out and made a splash. And I mean, they only finished 6 games out of a playoff spot last year, and it was like you never saw them.
I mean, you look at their rotation. You have Kluber, a former Cy Young winner. You have Salazar, Carrasco, Bauer's all there. I mean, they're just missing. They're missing something. They're missing a piece somewhere in there. Carlos Santana can hit the shit out of the ball, and they have a pretty good lineup. And they just need something, and they're just not getting it.
Yeah, and it's not like they're a team that has like fundamental deep lying issues. Like, I mean, they didn't need to go overhaul everything. They just needed to add a piece or two, and they didn't do anything.
I'm with you. There's very bland, vanilla offseason for the Tribe.
In a gettable spot. I mean, with the 2 wildcard teams we've seen, it's open. You can make late runs. I know they got to play the defending champs 18 times. I know they don't feel great about playing the Tigers 18 times, but otherwise they're in a very gettable spot.
Very that division is that division is very winnable for them if they so choose to play well. My last team on the list.
Not anymore. I don't think it's winnable anymore. I think it could have been.
Okay. Now my last team on the list, I have the Los Angeles Dodgers. Starting off, obviously Red Sox fan. I'm a big fan of Dave Roberts. I think he's going to do well there, but I do think that the front office and what they've done this offseason is not setting him up well. Obviously they thought they had Chapman in a trade, and they thought they had Iwakuma in a deal. They end up losing both of those guys. They drop out. They didn't upgrade their offense whatsoever, and then they brought in Maeda and Kazmir, and they're supposed to fill in for Greinke. I just don't see anything happening with the team either. Or nothing.
I mean, we know it's not a fill-in.
That's who's replacing.
Well, right, it's a place taker, so they knew they were going to lose room there. I still don't think they're a bad team at all. I think
they still have the pieces there. I mean, they lost more than they won.
Yeah, you would have liked to see them, retain.
Something. They've been on the cusp of the World Series, whatever, for how many years, 5-6 years, and they just can't figure it out. I think this season is not going to be fun for them out there in the NL West.
I think they might. I think they very well might win the division still, but I don't. Yeah, like you said, last year they were one of the World Series favorites, and now we're just thinking maybe they'll win the division. So loser.
Who else do you have winning that division? Do you like the Giants? Do you like the newfound D-backs? I mean, who are you feeling out?
Giants. I like the Giants a heck of a lot more. But it's deep. They play each other 18 times each. There's
teams. There's a lot of games out there to play.
There's a lot of games out there to play, So, yeah, Giants are probably my pick, but I wouldn't necessarily sleep on LA.
Okay. That makes sense. All right, so that's about it for what we have. Winners, losers. Dave, what do you got on deck this week? Anything?
Not much. We might come at you something later in the week. Maybe a little preview.
All right.
Work our way through the divisions.
Yeah, that's a new thing. We're going to once we get around 30 days till the opening day, we're going to have a segment. We're going to have an article come out every day where we're going to preview a team for you, and at the end, we're going to all get together. There's 4 of us that work here at the WalkOff Report. Get together. We're going to make a video, decide who we're going to think's win the division. That's going to be pretty fun. I know that both you and I are going to travel down to Fort Myers, Florida. We'll be seeing some spring training games there. We have a lot on deck. The 999 challenge. I'll explain that at a later time. That's going to be a lot of fun. Other than that, I mean, should be a fun week. More content coming out. Obviously, we recommend you go watch the Crossover Report's new video. They came out with one a few hours before us today. A bunch of new articles, Super Bowl, a lot of coverage. Eat it all up.
Any last words? You have to. You got to eat it up. This is the deadest part of the sports year. Super Bowl's over. All we got is mid-season college basketball and then spring training. Gotta
But
eat it up.
soon the Masters.
Don't tease me. Don't tease me like that.
Oh, the greatest week of the year. That's in my personal opinion. I love that week more than anything else.
We'll talk about spring training for a while to bridge that gap. How's that?
We'll bridge the gap. All right, that sounds good. Any last words? Any last words for the viewers?
That's all I got. Go Sox.
All right, boys and balls. It was nice talking to you. Signing off.